The ground shook as a loud explosion echoed through the alien camp. Dust rose into the air, children screamed, and warriors rushed to their posts. But in the middle of the chaos, one girl stood still, her eyes glowing a bright and unnatural blue. Her name was Xeno, and everyone in her tribe knew what the glow meant. Danger was near. It had always been true, ever since she was a child, when her eyes glowed. Something bad followed soon after, sometimes a storm, sometimes a wild beast, sometimes war. But this time, her glow had come too late. The blast had already happened, and nobody knew what caused it. Xeno looked toward the hills beyond the trees. Something felt wrong, but her glowing eyes couldn't tell her what. Her people gathered around her, their faces filled with fear and expectation. "Where's the danger, Xeno?" asked the tribal chief, an old woman with silver horns and wrinkled skin. Xeno only shook her head, unsure. That night, as her tribe cleaned the damage, Xeno walked alone to the quiet edge of the forest. There was a strange silence in the air, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Then she heard it, a soft cough, followed by a whisper. "Help, please." Xeno turned fast. Her eyes did not glow. That alone made her hesitate. But lying between two glowing mushrooms was a human, his body bruised, his armor torn, and his eyes half open. Xeno had seen humans before, but never this close. Her tribe said humans were dangerous, violent, always ready for war. But this one didn't look like a threat. He looked cold, tired, and broken. "I'm not here to fight," he said weakly, raising one hand. "My name is Eli. I'm lost." Xeno stepped closer, her heart pounding. Still, her eyes did not glow, not even a flicker of blue. Something was wrong, or maybe something was different. She helped him up slowly. Even though her mind screamed not to, she brought him to a small hidden cave near the river, a place only she knew. She lit a fire and gave him water from her flask. She didn't speak much. Xeno wasn't good with words, but Eli didn't need many words. His eyes said thank you. His hands trembled with pain. The next morning, Xeno returned to the cave with berries and roots. Eli was awake, sitting near the fire. "Why are you helping, me?" he asked. "Your people must hate mine." Xeno thought for a while before replying. "My eyes, they did not glow," she said softly. "They always glow when danger is close." Eli raised an eyebrow, confused. "And they didn't glow when you found me?" Xeno shook her head. "Not even a little." Eli looked down at the device on his wrist. It was cracked, old, but still blinking with tiny blue lights. "Maybe it's this thing," he joked. "Or maybe I'm just not dangerous to you." Xeno didn't laugh. She was thinking deeply now. Her whole life, her gift had warned her of threats. She had trusted it more than anything. But now, standing near this human, her gift was silent, calm. That night, something moved outside the cave. Xeno sat up quickly, her hand on her blade. She looked at Eli. He was still asleep, breathing slowly. She stepped outside, expecting danger, expecting her eyes to glow bright blue. But nothing happened. The forest was still. Only the sound of water running in the nearby stream could be heard. Her eyes remained normal. She returned to the cave, troubled and confused. For the first time in her life, she didn't trust her own power. She looked at Eli, who now muttered something in his sleep. His fingers curled tightly as if holding something invisible. Xeno whispered, "Who are you, really?" Eli didn't answer, but the small device on his wrist blinked again, brighter this time. And somewhere deep inside the mountains, something very old began to awaken. The village screamed before sunrise. Flames rose in the distance, turning the sky orange and black. Warriors ran with spears and bows, shouting orders. Mothers pulled children close and ran to hide. But in all this chaos, Xeno's eyes did not glow. That was the part that shook everyone the most. Her power, the one they trusted their lives with, stayed completely silent. Her eyes, always the first sign of trouble, were just dull and normal, as if danger never came. The village across the valley was burning. The beast that attacked had already vanished into the woods. It was too fast, too strong, and left no trace behind. The survivors cried out, "Why didn't Xeno warn us?" They didn't dare ask her face to face, but the doubt was spreading like smoke. Xeno didn't speak. She stood still on the hill, staring at the smoke. Her fingers tightened around the stone pendant on her neck. Her heart felt cold, because she already feared the answer. Eli. She returned to the cave, where Eli was resting. His wounds were healing, but the strange device on his spine still glowed faint blue. He smiled when he saw her, but her expression stayed serious. She walked straight up to him and touched the glowing metal on his back. Her fingers barely grazed it, and her eyes flickered blue for half a second. That moment changed everything. She jumped back, breath caught in her throat. Eli looked confused. "What did you see?" he asked. "I think," she whispered, "you blocked my power." Eli looked at his arm where his old battlefield tech blinked like a sleeping eye. "This thing?" he asked. "It's just old survival gear from Earth's warfront. It saved my life once, that's all." But Xeno didn't believe it was that simple. She had sensed a strange silence inside him since the moment they met, a kind of quiet that pushed her gift away. Maybe it wasn't danger he brought, but a wall that hid it from her. That night she didn't sleep. She watched the stars instead, letting her thoughts drift. Her people still trusted her, but their belief was shaking. And worst of all, she was starting to doubt herself too. Before dawn, she left the cave alone. She needed answers, deeper than what anyone could give her. She walked through the forest, past the river, into the shadow of the cliffs. There, hidden under vines and dirt, was a stone structure so old that even the trees bent away from it. Xeno had only seen it once before as a child, a warning place, a forbidden ruin. Her people said it was cursed by the sky, but now, she pushed the vines aside and stepped in. The walls inside were smooth, not like anything built by her kind. Strange symbols were carved deep into the stone, and many of them looked like the ones on Eli's gear. She reached out and traced her fingers over one mark, and her eyes flashed blue, then stayed glowing softly. A soft hum began under her feet, and the stone pulsed with light. Xeno stepped back, heart pounding. A voice filled the chamber, not from a speaker, not from outside, but inside her mind. "Signal detected," it said. "Beacon near." "Welcome back, living key," Xeno gasped. The light spread up the walls, forming shapes, maps, diagrams, old ships. One of them looked just like the tech embedded in Eli's spine. This place knew him. It knew her, too. She stumbled out of the ruin, light still fading behind her, her eyes still glowing blue, even under the morning sun. When she returned to Eli, she didn't speak right away. She sat by the fire, staring at the flames, and finally said, "You were not sent by chance." Eli looked startled. "What do you mean?" She looked at the stone floor, then into his eyes. "There's something inside you," she said. "Something from before, something that calls to old places, something my people fear, because they forgot it." Eli nodded slowly, like he already knew part of it. "I had dreams," he said, "about voices, old ships, and stars that speak. Maybe they weren't just dreams." That night, Xeno didn't see fire or stars. She saw blue flames dancing in her dreams, and a voice saying her name. A human voice, not Eli's, older, sadder. It said, "The signal is waking, and the danger is not from the human, it is what follows him." She woke up in a cold sweat, her eyes glowing once again. Xeno was not looking for the stone tablet. It found her, buried beneath a tree that had fallen during the last storm. The ground had cracked open just enough to reveal one smooth edge, darker than the soil around it. She knelt down, brushing away the dirt. The tablet was heavy, colder than stone should be, and covered in strange markings, not like her people's writing, but not human either, somewhere in between. She dragged it back to the cave. Eli helped her carry it, the two of them, working in silence. Neither of them knew what it was, but both felt its weight wasn't just physical. Something inside it hummed when they touched it together. Eli stared at it for a long time. Some of these symbols. I think they match the warning signs back on the old colony ships, he whispered. But these others I've never seen. They feel alive. Zyra placed her hand on the center of the tablet. Her eyes instantly lit up blue, but they didn't stop there. The glow spread down her arms like veins of light, and the tablet itself began to pulse. A voice rang out, not loud, not echoing, but right beside her ear, even though no one was speaking. Echo found, key identified, partial activation engaged. Eli took a step back, eyes wide. What does that mean? He asked, but Zyra didn't answer. She was frozen, her eyes unfocused, her mind filled with images that didn't belong to her, ships floating above cities, her people standing beside humans, stars falling, and a word repeated again and again, beacon. She collapsed onto the floor, the light fading. Eli caught her just before her head hit the stone. He held her gently, his heart racing. Zyra, what did you see? He whispered. Her voice came out cracked and quiet. We were allies once. Long ago, before the silence. Eli didn't know what to say, but he believed her. That night, while Zyra rested, he studied the symbols again. He found one that looked like the badge from his old Earth unit, a broken circle with a line through it. He traced it with his finger, and the tablet flickered again. The air in the cave shifted. Cold wind swept through, even though no entrance was open. The fire went out, and in the darkness, a beam of pale blue light shone down from the ceiling, revealing a hidden panel in the wall behind them. Zyra woke up suddenly, her eyes still faintly glowing. Something's opening, she said, breathless. Together. They approached the wall. The panel slid aside with a low groan, revealing a small passage lit with blue veins in the stone. Zyra felt drawn toward it. Pulled by something ancient and familiar, Eli followed her, his hand never leaving the side of the tunnel. At the end of the path, they found a small round chamber, and in the center, a metallic pedestal with something resting on it. A sphere, black like space, but glowing softly within. As Zyra stepped closer, the sphere reacted, floating into the air, rotating slowly, projecting shapes and words into the air. One of them was a map, stars and planets connected by bright lines. One line blinked red. It pointed toward a far system Zyra had never seen before. Eli leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. That's the Valiant system, he said. That's where my grandfather disappeared. Zyra turned to him, shocked. What do you mean? Eli looked distant now. He was part of the first deep space human explorers. Their ship vanished 100 years ago. No trace, no signal. Zyra looked back at the floating map. Maybe they didn't vanish, she said. Maybe they were silenced. The chamber began to shake slightly, not with danger, but with awakening. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the walls pulsed brighter. The sphere spoke now, its voice mechanical but smooth. Connection restored. Living beacon confirmed. Prepare. For second phase, Zyra's heart pounded. She didn't understand what the phases meant, or what the beacon truly was, but deep inside, something in her bones told her this was bigger than her tribe, bigger than even her planet. They returned to the surface just before sunrise, carrying the sphere wrapped in cloth. As they reached the cave entrance, Zyra looked toward the forest and froze. A group of shadows stood among the trees, unmoving, watching, not beasts, not villager strangers. Their eyes glowed not blue like hers, but red. Zyra stepped in front of Eli, her body tense. Her eyes glowed again, but this time they didn't warn of danger. They glowed with purpose. The doors opened before they even touched them. Zyra and Eli stood at the base of the cliff, breathless, watching the massive metal structure reveal itself. It had been hidden for centuries, swallowed by vines in time, but now the ground trembled, old locks snapped open, and cold air flowed out like the breath of something waking up. The inside was nothing like the forest, smooth metal walls, glowing blue lines, a ceiling that hummed softly like a giant heart. Zyra stepped in first, her eyes glowing faintly. Her presence seemed to awaken lights one by one, leading them deeper. Inside, Eli followed close, holding the wrapped sphere tight in his arms. "This place isn't alien," he whispered. "It's human. But older than anything we built in my time." Zira didn't reply. She could feel something tugging at her, like invisible threads pulling her toward the center of the structure. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became, and the more. The lights responded to her steps. They entered a large round chamber, with machines shaped like chairs, walls filled with blinking symbols, and a strange platform in the middle. As soon as Zira stepped onto it, the floor glowed beneath her feet. The sphere in Eli's hands lifted on its own and floated to the center. A deep voice filled the room, not angry, not cold, but tired. "Living beacon connected. Human signal acquired. Commence memory unlock." The platform lit up, and Zira's mind was flooded with visions, faster than thought, clearer than dreams. She saw battles in the sky, alien allies fighting beside humans, planets burning, machines screaming without sound, and a single command echoing again and again: "Protect." "The beacon!" She gasped and fell to her knees. Eli caught her, holding her close. "What did you see?" he asked gently. She looked at him, her eyes full of light. "I saw everything," she whispered. "We were one people once, your kind and mine. We fought something terrible, something that silences stars." Eli helped her stand. "And you're the last beacon," he said slowly. "But why didn't they tell you?" "Because they forgot," she replied. "Or maybe they were made to forget." The room changed. Walls slid apart to reveal a screen showing a face. It was human but old, wrinkled, eyes tired but kind. He wore a worn uniform with a cracked Earth symbol on it. "I am Commander Arlen Voss," the recording said. "If you're seeing this, then the final signal has been awakened. The threat we fought was never destroyed, only delayed. And the beacon is the only way to call for help." The screen glitched. Then continued, "To the beacon, I say this: you are not a weapon, you are hope. You carry the memory of two peoples, and when joined with the signal bearer, the path will open again." Eli stared, shocked. "Signal bearer?" he asked. "Is that me?" Zira nodded slowly. "It has to be. The tech inside you, the dreams, the way the systems listen to you. You were chosen, even if you didn't know." Suddenly, alarms began to echo through the chamber. Red lights flashed, and a harsh voice repeated, "Unfamiliar presence detected. Prepare for defense." Zira's eyes glowed bright blue. She grabbed Eli's hand. "They followed us," she said. "The ones with red eyes, they found this place." The walls closed behind them, sealing the chamber as old weapons rose from hidden slots. The base was ready to defend itself, but it was weak, too old, too damaged. Zira looked at Eli, her voice shaking but strong. "We have to fix the core, or this place will fall. And if it falls, the beacon dies with it." Eli nodded, setting the sphere into the center platform. "Then we give it everything we've got." As he touched the panel, a blue line of light ran from his hand to the walls. Machines awakened, sparks flew, and the entire structure began to hum like a living thing. A storm was building outside, but something stronger was rising within. The final light turned on, shining brighter than anything they had seen before. It formed a doorway of pure energy. Zira turned to him. "That's the path the message spoke of," she said. "It leads to the source, to the truth." But before they could step through, the walls shook again. This time not from power, but from something breaking in. Outside, shadows moved fast and silent. The red-eyed strangers had arrived. Zira's eyes glowed fiercely, her voice calm but sharp. "No matter what happens," she said, "you must reach the other side." Eli reached for her hand. "Not without you." The energy door pulsed, waiting. The battle for the truth was about to begin. The first scream didn't come from the enemy, it came from the walls. As the strangers forced their way into the ancient base, the walls wailed like a living creature in pain. Lights flickered wildly, Machines sparked, and every screen showed one word pulsing in red corruption. Zira stumbled as the floor shook beneath her feet. Her eyes glowed blue at first, but the color shifted quickly, first to white, then to red. Eli had never seen that before. Red. "What does that mean?" he asked. Zira's hands trembled. "I don't know," she whispered. "In my people's stories, red meant the end. But I've never felt it before. It's not just danger, it's chaos." The strangers with red eyes weren't speaking. They moved like shadows. Their bodies thin and long. Their armor pulsed like it was alive, and wherever they stepped, the metal floor blackened beneath them. One of them touched the wall, and the entire section melted into smoke. Zira gasped as memories rushed into her mind, visions not from her own life, but from the beacon's memory. These creatures weren't from her world, or Eli's. They were from before both. She shouted over the noise. "They don't want to destroy the beacon. They want to absorb it." Eli pulled her behind one of the old defense pillars. "We need to shut the core down before they reach it. Can you still feel the path?" Zira nodded, her glow flickering like a candle in the wind. "Yes, but it's unstable." As they ran toward the core chamber, one of the shadow creatures stepped in their path. It didn't speak, but it tilted its head at Eli like it recognized him. Then its armor opened down the middle, revealing a soft glow, the same color as the tech inside Eli's spine. Zira's eyes turned red again, brighter this time. "They carry pieces of the signal tech," she said, "but twisted, like it's feeding on them instead of guiding." Eli stared at the creature. "Then maybe I can use mine to stop it." Before she could stop him, Eli stepped forward and raised his hand. The creature flinched, as if in pain, and let out a high-pitched sound that made the wall shake again. The glow from Eli's wrist shined even stronger, forcing the creature to fall to one knee. Zira shouted, "It's working, whatever you're doing, it's working." But Eli dropped to the floor moments later, blood trickling from his nose. His body shook as the tech inside him overloaded. Zira rushed to his side. "No," she said, voice cracking. "You're not a weapon." He opened one eye, smiling weakly. "Didn't mean to be." Together they stumbled into the core room. The energy sphere in the center was now surrounded by flickering light, symbols flashing too fast to read. Zira placed her hands on the beacon pedestal, and this time it didn't. "Just speak it," roared inside her mind. "Emergency link engaged," the voice said. "Final key required." Zira turned to Eli, barely able to keep standing. "You have to place your hand beside mine." He nodded and forced himself up, staggering to the pedestal. When his hand touched the surface, the beacon responded instantly. Light shot through the floor, the ceiling, and into the sky above, forming a tower of blue flame that pierced the clouds. Outside, the red-eyed strangers froze, the glow in their armor dimming, one by one. They let out shrieks like dying machines and began to dissolve into dust. Zira felt the power surge through her. But it wasn't just hers now, it was shared. Her mind connected to Eli's, their memories mixing. A strange peace filled the room, and the beacon's voice became softer. "You are the final pair, the human signal bearer and the living beacon. Together, you restore the chain." But then, something else happened. The red glow in Zira's eyes didn't fade, it changed, shifting to gold. Eli watched in awe as her body lifted slightly off the ground, the beacon's energy flowing through her like a storm of stars. She landed gently, her eyes wide. "I saw it," she said quietly. "There's more than one beacon, others like me, sleeping across the galaxy, waiting for someone like you to wake them." Eli took her hand. Then, "We're not done yet." Just as they turned to leave the chamber, another panel on the wall opened silently. Inside was a map, but not of just one system. It was of hundreds. Thousands of tiny blue lights blinked across the screen. Zira stepped closer, her voice soft but filled with wonder. "We were never meant to stand alone." As the base repaired itself behind them, and the dust of the broken creatures faded into the wind, the beacon remained glowing. Its message was no longer a warning, it was a call. And someone, somewhere had just started to listen. Asterisk. The first sign that something was wrong came not from outside, but from within Zyra herself. It started as a warmth in her chest, then quickly spread through her veins like fire. Her legs gave way beneath her, and she dropped to her knees. Her breath came sharp and quick, and her eyes, once glowing blue, flared gold again. But this time they wouldn't stop. Eli rushed to her side. "Zyra, what's happening to you?" he asked, panic rising in his voice. "I don't know," she gasped. "It feels like the beacon is still inside me, but it's growing." The base had gone quiet since the creatures were destroyed, but now the walls trembled again, not with fear or attack, but with response. They were responding to her. The core chamber behind them began to change. The once smooth floor opened slowly, revealing another level hidden beneath. Metal stairs unfolded like ribs opening to reveal a heart. Zyra stood with Eli's help, her glow steady but intense. "We have to go down," she said. "It's not finished. The beacon gave us light, but not the truth." They descended the steps slowly, the air getting heavier with every step. The walls were covered in writing, much older than anything Eli had seen, symbols mixed with human letters, fragments of warnings, promises, memories. One phrase appeared over and over: "The signal war is not over." At the bottom, they found a small room, and in the center sat a broken chair with straps and wires hanging from it. A machine hummed softly nearby, flickering with fading power. It looked like a place someone once sat to remember something too painful to carry. Zyra approached it carefully. Her glow pulsed once, and the machine came alive with a sharp sound. A voice echoed from the dark corners of the room, low, tired, and filled with regret. "This was my fault," it said. "I trusted the wrong ones. They turned the signal into a weapon. They tried to erase the beacons, but one survived, and she's listening now." Eli looked at Zyra, his voice barely a whisper. This is a confession." Zyra placed her hand on the machine, and suddenly she was no longer in the room. Her mind was pulled into a memory not her own. She stood on a ship, surrounded by humans and aliens alike, all of them running from something. Outside the windows, something massive, dark and silent. It wasn't fire or missiles that destroyed worlds back then. It was silence. The creatures didn't speak, didn't scream, didn't show pain. They erased communication, erased connection. The war wasn't just physical. It was about destroying signals, cutting voices from the universe until no one remembered each other anymore. Zyra saw the last beacon fall, her eyes turning red before being lost to time. Then everything went dark until only one light remained, and that light was her. She gasped and fell back. Eli caught her again, as always. "I saw the war," she whispered. "It was never about winning. It was about forgetting, making sure no one remembered who we once were." Eli helped her to her feet. "Then we remember, we keep the story alive no matter what." But as they turned to leave, a sharp sound broke the silence. The ground cracked behind them, and from the wall stepped a new figure taller than the others. Its armor dark silver, its eyes glowing the same gold as Zyra's. It looked almost human, but wrong, too perfect, too smooth, like a masked copied. From memory, Eli stepped in front of Zyra, but the figure raised a hand. "Not to attack, but to speak. You were not meant to survive," it said, its voice like hundreds speaking at once. "The beacon was to sleep, the signal was to fade. Why do you resist?" Zyra stepped forward, trembling but strong. "Because I remember, and he remembers. And that means your silence failed." The figure tilted its head, curious. "You carry more than memory now," it said. "You are becoming something else. Not beacon, not weapon, but link." Without warning, it rushed forward too fast to follow. Eli pushed Zyra out of the way and took the full hit, slamming into the wall. His wrist device exploded in sparks, and he slumped to the floor, unmoving. Zyra screamed, her glow turning white-hot. The machines in the base responded instantly, rising like awakened beasts. shooting energy toward the figure, but it walked through the blasts without care. Zira knelt beside Eli, tears in her eyes. "No," she whispered. "You said we'd do this together." As her hand touched his chest, her eyes turned completely white, and then shockingly blue once more. A beam of light shot from her body, slamming into the enemy with a force so pure it made the air crack. The figure was thrown back, crashing into the far wall. Its mask cracked, revealing something inside something made of light. Then smoke, then nothing. Zira turned back to Eli. His eyes opened slowly. "That hurt," he muttered. She laughed through tears. "You're alive." "Barely," he said, but smiled anyway. They stood together as the base began to calm again. But above them, the stars had already changed. The beacon signal was reaching farther now, and someone or something was answering. The stars were no longer silent. Zira stood at the edge of the cliff above the ancient base, her eyes reflecting the skies above, streaked now with lines of light answers to the beacon's call. The galaxy was waking, and her heartbeat felt like it echoed in the void between worlds. Eli limped to her side, a bandage across his shoulder, the device in his spine now dim and cracked, yet still alive. "You feel that?" he asked quietly, "like the sky is humming?" Zira nodded. "They're coming, but not to fight, not yet." Ships that had once been lost, forgotten, or sleeping were now changing course, following the signals Zira and Eli had reawakened. Across dozens of systems, lights turned on for the first time in centuries, and buried beacons others like her opened their eyes. But not everything stirred in peace. From the far edge of the map, beyond the known lanes of travel, a black signal moved. It had no light, no sound, just presence, slow and endless, coming. Closer. Zira didn't need words to know what it was. She had seen it in her dreams, heard it in the shaking of the old walls. The force that once tried to erase voices was not done. It had only been sleeping. She and Eli returned to the chamber beneath the base. The machines greeted them with soft hums and streams of data, showing each beacon location, each ship responding, and at the center Zira herself, marked in gold. She placed her hand on the pedestal again. "Can they hear me?" she asked aloud. The beacon responded. "Your voice is now the voice of the chain. Speak, and they will follow." Zira looked at Eli, unsure. "I'm not a leader," she whispered. "I was just a girl whose eyes glowed." Eli stepped closer, his smile tired but full of truth. "And I was just a soldier trying to survive," he said. "But we changed the story together." Zira took a deep breath. Then she spoke, not in a loud voice, not with command, but with calm fire in every word. "We were made to forget," she said. "Our stories were broken, our people scattered. But the chain is not gone. I am one beacon, and there are others. We remember now, and we are not alone." The beacon pulsed brighter, the signal stretching across light years. Her voice echoed in the minds of thousands, even those who didn't know why they suddenly felt hope. Above them, a new ship entered orbit. It was old, but not ruined, a ship of Earth, restored, its engines burning soft blue. The name on its side read Valiant. 2. Eli stared, blinking in disbelief. "That's from my family's line," he said. "It's a rescue ship." The doors of the base opened once more, revealing not warriors but explorers, scientists, even children, led by a woman whose voice trembled as she stepped forward. "We followed the signal," she said. "Is this where it began?" Zira looked at her, her golden eyes fading gently to blue. "No," she said softly. "This is where it begins again." There were still dangers ahead. The silent enemy still moved in the dark. The beacon war wasn't over, but for the first time in generations there was light in the fight. Zira walked with Eli out into the open sun, their hands brushing together. She looked at the skyships arriving, stars glowing, voices rising. She had been born as a warning sign. A girl whose glowing eyes only meant danger. Now those same eyes showed something new. A future. As the light spread across worlds and lost beacons, opened their eyes one by one. A truth returned to the galaxy. They could forget history. They could bury memories. They could even silence songs. But they could never destroy what still remembered how to love and how to fight for it.